So, hi beauties, it's BrittanyAlissa. So grab your tea, your mug, your bottle of water like I have, a tissue, because I'm going to do a story time video. For those of you who don't know, I am a married, pardon me, like my hair like looks a mess. I am getting ready to put another weave in my hair, and when I take out my old weaves I have a tendency of like putting this bun thing, whatever. So for those of you who don't know, I am a married mother of 3 children. I just had Lake. Lake is 10 months today. I don't know why I said I have an 11-year-old and I have a 7-year-old. But for those of you who don't know, I also had a child at 15. So the title of this video will be pregnant at 15. Did I say 15 or 17? 15. I had all of my kids within my teens, but not all of them, the first 3. I'm rambling. So let's get into the story time. Baby at 15. When I was 15 years old, I was in foster care. I was in foster care at age 11, but at 15, I met my daughter's father, and we had relations. Like, I had known him within the foster care system. And for a lot of you who are foster children, don't become a statistic, because I feel like I am one. Within being a ward of the state, I did have a child, so I do consider myself a little bit of a ward of the system. I ended up meeting him, and he was in my foster home. We did not have relations when I was in the foster home. It wasn't until maybe 2 years after I left that foster home that we ended up connecting. I was really young and fast and hot in my ass. For those of you who don't know, my mother died when I was 7 years old, and my dad was really in and out of my life, and something transpired which led me to go into foster care. No, he did not sexually molest me. There was a bit of abuse and whatever. I don't feel like getting into that because that's not what this is about. But I ended up liking him, and I was fast, and I wanted him, and I wanted to see what it was all about. I had lost my virginity at 14 years old, and later on met him, and we had sex, pretty much. I remember finding out I was pregnant and being so scared, because I won't lie to you guys, because it is story time. At 15 years old, I did think that if I had a baby would love me, and like I would have something to love, being that I had nothing. It's a misconception and a misunderstanding that a lot of people, young, old, in between, when you're going through a hard time, you don't think straight. And at 15, I was still wet behind my ears. I should not have been having sex at that age, but I did. So I ended up finding out I was pregnant. We were having unprotected sex like almost every single day. So obviously pregnancy comes from that. And I got pregnant. And I remember telling him like, oh, get a pregnancy test, and it came up positive. And I don't even know what the hell a positive test looks like at 15. But it was positive. And his family, because I was a foster child, because I was hot in my ass, they did not want me to have the child. So I ended up going to, I was 4.5 months pregnant, and he was like basically forcing me to have an abortion. And after like pulling teeth and being spit on and being disrespected by his family and being called a hoe and all type of other crazy things, I ended up making an appointment at Planned Parenthood for an abortion. And I went in, and I remember being so scared, because at 15 years old, my mother's not alive, like my dad is not in my life, and the foster parents don't really care. So I remember walking in there, and I thought he can hold my hand, and he basically had to wait in the waiting area. He waited in the waiting area, And then I went to the back of the room, they took a pregnancy test, confirmed pregnancy. I was told not to eat or drink after 12 that night. And I ended up going in the back of the room, and the woman, I guess, was anti-abortion because she ended up showing me the sonogram, which I hear now that they're not supposed to do. And she shows me my baby kicking and moving, and she goes, "Is this what you want? Do you want to kill something that's living and moving?" Broke my heart. And then I was like, "Yeah, I have to. He doesn't want it." And she was basically like, "That's your decision, but I don't recommend it." And then she told me, "You're too far along." I remember her telling me something like, "You're 18 or 19 weeks. You're too far along for us to do the procedure here. You have to go downtown for them to do it there. It's a 2-day procedure." And she gave me another view of the sonogram, and it was a still shot. And I remember seeing arms, legs, toes, feet. And I walked out of there, and he was like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "She didn't do it. She told me I couldn't do it. We have to go downtown." So fast forward to now, he already told his family I was going to get an abortion. And now I'm coming back still pregnant. So we slept next to each other, and he's like, "Are you prepared for tomorrow?" I'm like, "I'm not really prepared. I don't really want to do this." Like, she told me that the baby's like living and breathing, not living and breathing, but kicking, and it hurt. I remember him telling me, "You stupid bitch, like, you need to get this abortion done." And I went downtown the very next day and stood outside the building and never went in. I always say, for those of you who don't believe in Jehovah, God, whoever you guys believe in, I believe that there is a God and things happen for a reason. I was 15 years old, pregnant, no guidance, no one to hold my hand through it all, and I was being forced into an abortion. I ended up not having the abortion. I ended up being in a relationship that I shouldn't have been in at 15, knowing now that relationship was very volatile, that relationship was very detrimental to my life, and bringing a baby into the world would have been a mistake. So anyway, I ended up going into labor at 25 weeks. For those of you who don't know, a pregnancy is supposed to be 40 weeks. Full term is 37 weeks. A full term baby is 40 weeks, and I had a baby at 25 weeks. She was born at 1 pound 12 ounces, and she basically was struggling from the time she came out. I ended up giving birth because that night that I gave birth, I was told that I was a bitch. I was, again, spit on. I was told, "You should not have been pregnant. You should not have been having this baby." And I remember being so young and wanting love and wanting him to love me that it was a park within a 4-block radius, and I circled that park, crying and screaming and chasing him. "Please don't leave me like this. I need you." And he's telling me, "You're so dumb. You should have never had this baby." And I remember following him around this park. I was having such bad cramps, such a bad headache, and just kept following him. After about 4 hours of walking around this park, may have been longer than 4, circling this park and crying and getting on my knees and saying, "Please don't leave me, just love me, like I'm tired of fighting. I'm sorry I had the baby, but it's our baby. We're gonna be in love." I remember going back upstairs into my foster care apartment with my foster mother, not even caring. It's like 11, 12 o'clock at night. And I remember having so much pain, and I remember TMI in between my legs being severely like moist. And I remember saying to myself, something isn't right. And in the process of me saying something isn't right, I woke my foster mother up and I said, "I don't feel good." And she's like, "Call 911. And I remember going to the hospital. I was there all about, because at some 20 weeks you go to labor and delivery. Or 24 weeks you go to labor and delivery. I remember telling them, like, "I'm pregnant," and they're like, "Obviously we can see that." And I'm like, "Something just doesn't feel right." They examined me and I was 10 centimeters dilated, but my water hadn't broke. The procedure was, we have to give you a C-section because we don't know if there's an infection or how long you've been dilated. And bacteria, because you've been dilated 10 centimeters so long, or we don't know how long, but because you came here 10 centimeters, bacteria can enter your womb and it's dangerous for you to push out a baby. I remember calling his house, and his aunt didn't like me very much, and she said he's not here, and she hung up the phone on me. And I remember having a C-section at 15 years old, being put completely to sleep, because usually I've had a C-section with all my children, but when you are fully dilated, it becomes an emergency. In an emergency, they can't give you an epidural or a spinal. You have to be put to sleep. I was put to sleep, and I woke up, and I remember, where's my baby? I want to hold my baby. And they're like, she's in an NICU. And at 15, I did not know what an NICU was. I did not know what a premature baby was. I did not know about nothing. I thought you got pregnant, you had a healthy baby, your baby comes home with you. Boom, the end. That was not the case. Again, she was born 1 pound, 12 ounces, and she struggled every single day. I remember getting a phone call, fast forwarding now. I remember getting a phone call. She lived for 52 days, so this was the 50th day, that she wasn't going to make it. Maya had just been in the hospital, and I had just seen her. She was now 3 pounds and 5 ounces, I think, and she was blinking, and she had hazel eyes, pale skin, and she had like light brown hair. And I remember them calling me in the night and saying she wasn't going to make it. And let's fast forward, because it makes me emotional and I don't want to cry. She was transferred from one hospital to another, which was far away from where I was at the time. And I remember again calling her father and saying, they told me she's not going to make it. He's like, oh, I can't make it up there with you. So I was in this area, Valhalla, New York, and he couldn't make it. So I remember staying with her, and she's seizing, having a seizure ongoing. I remember a priest coming to pray over her, and then they finally told me to go home and get some sleep. I went home to go get some sleep. I remember watching a Medea movie, and I got another phone call that said, she's not going to make it through the night. I held my daughter when she took her last breath. And I remember her deciding in, her heart rate and her breathing and everything just kept going down. And they said, if you don't pull the plug, we're gonna have to, because she's so small, we can't keep, because they were pressing her to like revive her. And I remember them saying, if you don't do it, we will. And the woman who helped me get to the hospital was a woman who was like the foster care agency advocate, and she took me under her wing because of the crisis I had been through. And I told them to do it. I held her, they put her in my arms, they made me sign a documentation, and I said, pull her, pull the cord, pull the plug. And she took her last breath in my arms. I cried. But she was free. She didn't have to suffer anymore. She didn't have to be poked with needles. She didn't have to have her blood pressure taken anymore. She was free. By the time she got to that hospital, she was on 100% oxygen, and it makes you brain dead when you're on that much oxygen for a long period of time. She died from what is called necrotizing enterocolitis, which is your intestines die. They had to do surgery on her little body before she passed, and all her intestines were basically black. There was no saving her and me keeping her on life support when she was already brain dead. The machine was basically breathing for her. So at 15, I had to make a decision that a lot of adults shouldn't have to make. But I'm grateful because I have 2 children who changed my total life and my aspect on being a mother. And I have Blake, who came into my life when I was told I couldn't have children, I wouldn't have another child, and I needed IVF and all type of other stuff. I'm a big believer in things happen in the time and shape and form when they're supposed to happen. I'm a big believer in life experiences. And I made this personal video, not for pity, not for sorrow. This happened. I am 29 this year. I had a baby at 15, and then a year later I had another baby with the same exact man, which is my 11-year-old now. I was in foster care and I had no guidance, and I had no one to tell me what was right and wrong. And if I had, my life choices back then would have been different. And I always feel that if I can change someone's life, if I can make someone think a little bit smarter, then I'm gonna do it. So I made this video to hopefully inspire someone and tell you young girls, 15, 16, 17, is not the time for you guys to be having sex, because things come out of that. And whereas you may think, I'm not gonna get pregnant or have an abortion, that's not as easy as you may think. Or you say, I'm just gonna have my baby. Babies don't come out perfect. Sometimes, just sometimes, flip of a coin, snap of a finger, things turn out a little different. And for me, it did. And I truly, truly, truly hope you guys understand that your life can change in an instant. I buried my kid at 15. And to this day, it still hurts. I will say this, I'm grateful for my children. I'm grateful for Leah, Aiden, and Lake. But my life was forever changed. Aiden, Leah, Donnell, bring Lake. My happily ever after is my children, and the fact that I can teach them from my mistakes. Come. Say hi.
Hi, Beauties.
Leah, bend down a little bit.
Hi, Beauties.
Hi, Beauties.
Say hi.
See the sticker monster?
So, I'll tell you guys this. My life was changed forever at a very young age, but yours doesn't have to be. I'm grateful now to be older and married and happy, and to have 3 beautiful children of my own. And I hope this touches someone and it allows you guys to have a little bit more insight on me. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this story time video. Bye, beauties.
Say bye, guys.